The English coastal guards watched in confusion as Viking longships suddenly vanished beneath the waves, only to resurface miles inland behind their fortress walls. What seemed like dark magic was actually the world's first submarine technology, and recent underwater archaeological discoveries have finally revealed how Vikings achieved underwater travel that modern submarines still can't replicate. Medieval chronicles describe Viking attacks that defied all logic of naval warfare. Enemy fleets would watch Viking longships approach across open water, then witness them diving beneath the surface like whales and disappearing completely. Hours later, these same vessels would emerge from rivers and harbors deep inland, striking at targets that should have been impossible to reach by sea. The Anglo-Saxon Chronicle records the Siege of York in 8067 AD, where Viking forces did sail beneath the earth's waters as fish do swim, emerging in the heart of our lands where no ship should venture. Similar accounts appear in French, Irish, and Byzantine records, describing Viking vessels that could travel underwater for distances of 20 miles or more. In 2018, marine archaeologists using advanced sonar technology discovered a perfectly preserved Viking vessel 40 feet beneath the waters of a Norwegian fjord. Unlike traditional longships, this vessel contained sealed compartments, air-trapping chambers, and mechanical systems clearly designed for underwater operation. The discovery proved that Viking submarine technology wasn't mythology, it was engineering reality. Carbon dating confirmed the vessel's age at over 1,000 years, predating the first official submarine by 8 centuries. The preservation was so complete that researchers could examine original leather seals, wooden airlocks, and bronze breathing apparatus still intact after a millennium underwater. This single discovery revolutionized our understanding of medieval maritime capabilities. Analysis of the submarine's construction revealed engineering sophistication that rivals modern underwater vehicles. The hull used a double-wall design with sealed chambers filled with specially processed whale blubber that created perfect watertight integrity. The Vikings had developed wood joining techniques using iron rivets and pine tar sealants that could withstand underwater pressure for hours. The vessel's ballast system employed precisely calculated stone weights that could be quickly repositioned to control diving and surfacing. Leather bladders filled with air provided emergency buoyancy, while bronze valves allowed controlled water intake for submersion. The mechanical complexity suggests a deep understanding of fluid dynamics and pressure physics that shouldn't have existed in medieval times. The most remarkable feature of Viking submarines was their air supply system. Hollow wooden tubes, sealed with treated leather, created breathing apparatus that could extend above water surface while the vessel remained submerged. Multiple air chambers throughout the ship stored breathable atmosphere for the crew during extended underwater travel. Archaeological analysis revealed evidence of primitive oxygen concentration techniques using algae cultivation within sealed compartments. The Vikings had discovered that certain marine plants could produce breathable air underwater, creating a biological life support system centuries before humans understood photosynthesis. This natural technology allowed crews to remain submerged for up to 12 hours. Submerged navigation presented challenges that Vikings solved through ingenious methods. They developed underwater compasses using magnetized iron needles suspended in sealed oil chambers that remained functional beneath the waves. Sound navigation techniques allowed them to track coastlines and underwater features by listening to wave patterns and marine life. The submarines contained detailed carved maps showing underwater topography, current patterns, and depth measurements of major waterways. These nautical charts displayed knowledge of seabed geography that modern mapping technology has only recently confirmed. Viking navigators had somehow surveyed and documented underwater terrain across vast areas of northern Europe. Viking submarine attacks provided unprecedented tactical advantages in medieval warfare. Enemy forces could never predict where underwater vessels might surface, allowing Vikings to bypass coastal defenses, navigate upstream through enemy territory, and appear behind fortifications that were designed to repel surface naval attacks. Historical analysis reveals that submarine-enabled raids achieved success rates approaching 90%, compared to traditional Viking attacks that succeeded roughly 60% of the time. The element of complete surprise, combined with the psychological terror of facing enemies who could emerge from beneath the water, gave Vikings decisive advantages in coastal and river warfare. Archaeological surveys have identified hidden Viking shipbuilding sites in remote fjords, where submarine construction took place, away from enemy observation. These facilities contain specialized tools and equipment designed specifically for creating watertight vessels, including unique wood-bending apparatus and leatherworking stations for creating pressure seals. The submarine shipyards were carefully concealed and protected by elaborate security measures. Only master shipwrights with sworn oaths of secrecy were permitted access to submarine construction techniques. Runic inscriptions at these sites describe the submarine building knowledge as sacred wisdom that must be guarded from enemies at all costs. Operating Viking submarines required specialized skills that only elite warriors possessed. Submarine crews needed exceptional breath control, underwater navigation abilities, and the mental fortitude to remain calm during extended submersion. Training included underwater swimming endurance, pressure adaptation, and emergency escape techniques from submerged vessels. Archaeological evidence from submarine crew burials shows these warriors held special status within Viking society. Their graves contain unique diving weights, underwater navigation tools, and ceremonial items associated with sea spirits. Submarine operators were considered semi-mystical figures who had mastered the boundary between air and water realms. When modern submarine engineers examined Viking underwater vessel designs, they discovered construction principles that exceeded early 20th century submarine capabilities. The Viking vessels achieved better air efficiency, more reliable pressure sealing, and superior maneuverability than submarines built 800 years later during World War I. Contemporary submarine designers have incorporated Viking engineering solutions into modern vessel development. The ancient air chamber arrangements, ballast distribution systems, and hull pressure resistance techniques provide inspiration for next-generation submarine technology. Viking submarines prove that sophisticated engineering can be achieved through deep understanding of physics rather than electronic complexity. Viking submarine technology vanished during the medieval period as traditional Norse maritime culture declined. The complex knowledge required to build and operate underwater vessels was passed down through closely guarded apprenticeship systems that were disrupted by political changes and religious conversion throughout Scandinavia. Climate changes during the medieval warm period also affected the availability of specialized materials needed for submarine construction. The specific types of wood, marine organisms for air production, and whale blubber processing techniques became increasingly difficult to obtain, forcing Vikings to abandon their underwater naval capabilities. Peer-reviewed marine engineering studies have validated the hydrodynamic principles employed in Viking submarine design. Computer fluid dynamics simulations demonstrate that these vessels could achieve sustained underwater travel while maintaining structural integrity and crew safety. The physics of their design has been scientifically confirmed as sound and effective. Materials science analysis of preserved submarine components shows that Viking engineering utilized natural polymer chemistry and pressure physics in ways that modern science is only beginning to understand. The integration of biological and mechanical systems created hybrid technology that surpassed purely artificial submarine designs. Viking submarine capabilities enabled exploration and settlement of territories that were previously inaccessible by surface vessels. Underwater travel allowed them to navigate through ice-blocked passages, explore deep river systems, and establish secret bases in locations that enemies couldn't reach or detect. The strategic implications of submarine technology helped Vikings maintain their maritime dominance for centuries longer than would have been possible with surface ships alone. Underwater vessels provided secure supply lines, escape routes, and reconnaissance capabilities that gave Viking forces decisive advantages in territorial expansion and resource acquisition. Contemporary maritime museums and research institutions have attempted to build functional replicas of Viking submarines using original construction techniques. These projects have revealed the extraordinary skill and knowledge required to create watertight wooden vessels capable of safe underwater operation. Most replica attempts have failed to achieve the performance levels described in historical accounts, highlighting gaps in modern understanding of Viking construction methods. The few successful replicas have demonstrated that Viking submarine technology was far more sophisticated than previously believed, requiring master-level craftsmanship and deep knowledge of marine engineering principles. Viking submarine innovations have directly influenced contemporary underwater vessel development. Modern submarine designers study ancient pressure sealing techniques, biological air production methods, and natural navigation systems to improve current technology. The integration of organic and mechanical components pioneered by Vikings continues to inspire biomimetic engineering approaches. Military naval research programs actively investigate Viking submarine principles for developing next-generation underwater vehicles. The ancient emphasis on stealth, efficiency, and extended underwater endurance aligns perfectly with modern submarine warfare requirements. Viking technology demonstrates that revolutionary capabilities can emerge from deep understanding of natural principles rather than dependence on complex electronics. The Viking submarines prove that true innovation comes from mastering fundamental principles rather than creating complex machinery. While modern submarines rely on nuclear power and computer systems, Viking underwater vessels achieved remarkable capabilities through pure engineering genius and intimate knowledge of ocean physics. Perhaps the question isn't how they built submarines, but why we forgot their superior methods.